Hi guys, good morning. It's Monday and I'm so excited to be back with you. I have to just say I spent the weekend with an organization called Active Valor and I cannot say enough good things about them. They are an incredible organization. I highly recommend going and checking them out, giving them your support. They are a veteran operated organization that actually works with Gold Star families to help them kind of process through and move forward in their courage, and does great events with the children. And we actually had a wonderful event over the weekend with the spouses, with all the moms. So I was actually able to train them in firearms, and majority of them actually had never even fired a gun. So that was it was pretty incredible, and it's kind of what inspired me to talk about the scripture that I sort of was focusing on this morning. Um, Thinking about fear, obviously there was a lot of fear over the weekend. Like I said, a lot of these women hadn't touched a gun, hadn't fired a gun, didn't know what to expect. But what I found was very inspiring is that despite that, they were so willing to kind of move way outside of their comfort zone and put themselves in a position where it's just they had to kind of hand over such an incredible amount of trust. And for myself, I had my own fears because I recognize that, and I recognize how important my role would be in these women's lives on that given moment. And I felt so humbled and so blessed by that, to even have that opportunity to come to them and to help them kind of break through this barrier that they had been feeling. And the thing that I realized over the weekend, the lesson was that courage and bravery is not the absence of fear. It is, in my opinion, it's in spite of it. It's having fear, recognizing that, but having the willpower to move through that. And to me, that signified what true bravery was. For people to say that they're never in fear of anything, I would say is probably a lie. We each have our own crosses to bear and things that we're trying to work through. And what I saw in this room and this opportunity to train with these women is that despite their fear, the power that they felt and the inclination that they felt to want to protect and provide for their children superseded any fear. And that emboldened them to push through this and get on that range and put that firearm in their hand. And it was such an overwhelming and powerful experience in my life, and I'm very truly grateful for that. It's gonna make me tear up because I was so inspired by these women who went through such tragic loss of their spouses, but yet they have somehow persevered. And I obviously I identify with that. It's a beautiful testimony to their strength and, like I said, their courage. So anyways, what I wanted to bring up was it's in Mark. It's Mark, and it's the story of the sick woman and how she had spent years. She spent 12 years being sick and being treated, and nothing was working. And Jesus had come into town, and she found him in the crowd, and despite her fear, she went to him and she touched his robe, and in that moment he healed her. And of course, when he felt that there was a present, that something had shifted, he had asked who touched her robe. And I can't imagine. I read this story this morning, and I was thinking about these women that I had the opportunity to work with over the weekend and to meet and to be inspired by. And it's like that. It's like knowing that you needed something. You needed something to help you push forward, to push past whatever those fears were, that motivation. And in this woman's case, in this story, her belief, her utter and without any doubt, her belief superseded her fear of reaching out to Jesus. And in that strength and in that courage and in that boldness, she ended up getting the healing that she was hoping for. And it all stemmed from belief. And then you continue on in Mark, we get to, you know, verse 35 and 36. So this is Mark, I should go back, Mark chapter 5. And the story, if you want to look through it, it starts on verse 21. But when we kind of move forward, the whole reason why Jesus came to town was that there was a message that there was a little girl that was dying, and she had passed away, and they had went to Jesus, and they kind of mocked the father that was saying, please come help my daughter, and Jesus says to him, don't be afraid, just believe. This is Mark chapter 5 verse 36, and he says, overhearing what they said, Jesus told him, don't be afraid, just believe. And I think that is something that we need to tell ourselves every single day. Despite whatever fears might come into your heart, whatever voices chime into your mind to dissuade you from a path, to tell you that it's not possible, to tell you that you're not capable, or it's something that is impossible to do, that we need to tell ourselves what Jesus told these people, that you need to believe. Do not be afraid, but just believe. And that is, like, that one line, if you can take a single line out of the Bible and give it the true value and the true worth that it has, to me, this is a beautiful one, because this is one that we all suffer from. We all suffer from doubt and fear and the things that keep us in bondage, whether they're fears that we experience in the outside world, whether they're our own insecurities, whether they're people that are telling us that we're not capable of something, or that we don't have the power to overcome it. Jesus says, don't be afraid, just believe. And I mean, that's all you need to know. That's literally all you need to know. And I think about that in the terms of this past weekend and this experience that I had the opportunity to do. And there were people just like you and I that came into a situation, had so much fear, shaking and trembling and self-doubt, and thinking that they weren't capable of doing this, and sort of petrified in some ways and vacillating between being excited because they knew they were gonna move past kind of a roadblock, but really didn't know how and didn't know if they would be able to at the end of the day, and they did. And that was the amazing part, is that they, much like Jesus said to them, don't be afraid, just believe. And they believed in themselves. And I want to encourage you guys to believe in yourselves, and to remember that to be brave and to be courageous in this world does not mean that it is without fear, without fear and trembling, that our faith is the thing, Jesus' promise to us is the thing that will embolden us, that will give us that ability to move past fear. He is the one that kind of builds us up. He is the one that replaces fear with all the promises, with that belief. And so I just want to have you guys, if you have an opportunity today, go to Mark chapter 5, start verse 21. It's not very long. It'll just take you just a few moments. Go on your phone. You can look it up and really just focus on that, because here we have two stories of a woman who was virtually terminally ill. She had been ill for so long, and just by the sheer fact that she took every bit of courage within her soul and she reached out to touch Jesus's clothes because she believed, she knew that he had the power to redeem her and to lift her up from this darkness that she was sort of physically in, this bondage. And in that act, in that full trust and expression of her faith, she was healed. And it goes further into that chapter about the young girl that was asleep, and Jesus says in line 39, he went in and said to them, why all this commotion and this wailing? The child is not dead, but asleep. And then he goes on to say, but they laughed at him. They didn't believe. And as you continue to read, he basically commands her to wake up. And she wakes up. He revives her from death, even from the grips of death. He's able to revive her. And I think we need to have that kind of faith. We need to believe that through the grips of death, which in our lives could be, it could be adversity, it could be challenges, it could be all the things that we find that are holding us back. Even in spite of that, Jesus has the power to redeem us from that if we do believe and we hold on to that belief. So again, if you have the ability today, the time, I would definitely encourage you to go to Mark chapter 5 and just dive in a little bit. But most importantly, go into each day with the promises and the words that Jesus says to us of, do not be afraid, just believe. So like I said, I couldn't wait to come to you guys today. It was such an overwhelming feeling being able to have this opportunity to work with these women over the weekend and really see that type of belief, that type of faith, that type of courage in action. So also, if you do have an opportunity, I definitely recommend checking out the organization Active Valor. I believe their website is activevalor.com. They're just a worthwhile cause. It's a veteran-operated organization, and if you do have, any ability to either contribute or even just donate your time, they're based out of San Diego. So for any of you guys out there that are in Southern California, they are an exceptional group of individuals who are really doing God's work in a lot of ways. So I hope you have a very blessed Monday. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you again. Bye-bye.